Hello everyone, welcome to edupediaworld.com. In today's class, we are going to deal with the topic of leave travel allowance or leave travel concession. It is another type of allowance which is allowed or given by the employer to the employee and which is exempted up to a certain extent as per the Income Tax Act. So let us start today's class, and in today's class we'll see the definition, how much is exempted, and what are the different points which we have to keep in mind while allowing this LTC concession to the employees and getting this deduction from our income. So let us start today's class with the definition, exact definition, and what are the different points which we have to remember while calculating the exempted amount of LTC. What do we mean by leave travel allowance or leave travel concession? Many employers give leave travel allowance to their employees, which can be claimed if an employee goes on a vacation. So this is one provision which says that it so happens that when you work in any organization, so according to your position in the organization, the employer will give you LTC or LTA so that you can go on a vacation on the expenses which will be borne by the employer. So this is a type of perk you can say you are getting from your employer. That is, he is giving you the tickets or expenses to go on a vacation on some place, and the expenses will be borne by him. This leave travel allowance can be claimed when an employee goes on a vacation and submits the actual bills to the employer. This amount is also sometimes referred to as the leave travel concession. So this can be claimed as a deduction only when the employee goes on a vacation and submits the actual bills to the employer. So these are the two conditions which needs to be satisfied if we are required to become eligible to claim the leave travel allowance from our income. So what are they? Number one is, first of all, the employee needs to go on a vacation. It may so happen that the employer of your company has given you a certain amount of money, whatever be it, depending upon the position you are having in your organization. The employer may give you a certain amount of money as LTA, like, okay, you take this money and you can go on a vacation from this money. So that is not the condition which will make you eligible to claim this exemption in your income tax return. The condition which is needed to be satisfied is that you need to go on a vacation. Just by taking the money which has been assigned to you by your employer for going on a vacation does not make you eligible to claim the deduction. You are required to go on a vacation, and then only you can claim the deduction. Just by taking the money and not going on a vacation and just keeping that money for some other purpose will make you ineligible to claim this deduction in your income tax return. So what you are needed to do is, you are required to go on a vacation from the leave travel allowance given to you by your employer, and subsequently you are required to submit the bills to the employer that you travel from this place to that place, and these are the expenses incurred on the tickets of your vacation. So this is how you will be able to claim the leave travel allowance. Just remember the two conditions. You are required to go on a vacation, number one, and number two, you are required to submit the actual bills to the employer. Now, different employers give different amounts as leave travel allowance depending on the position at which the employee is working. So you may be getting a fixed amount of LTA as per the position you are holding in your organization and as per the policies of your company. What policy your company is following and how much LTA they are giving to a particular employee at a particular position. So it is not fixed that okay, this much amount is only given by all the employers to all the employees. So it depends upon the organization and their policies. At the time of filing the income tax return, the amount received as leave travel allowance is exempted to a specified level for the purpose of computing. So when we are filing the return, this LTA given by the employer to the employee is exempted to a specified level. We'll see in the next slides what is the specified levels and what are the some more conditions which are required to be fulfilled to avail this exemption in our income tax return. So hope you have understood the exact meaning of LTA and how it operates. This is the equation as per which we'll get the amount which is chargeable to tax after deducting the amount which is exempted from tax. It's very simple. We'll deduct the LTA or LTC which is exempted from the LTA, LTC which is received by us from the employer, and the remaining LTA, LTC will be chargeable to tax. So the amount so computed after claiming this exemption would be chargeable to tax as per the income tax slabs of the taxpayer for that assessment year. So only the LTA which is exempted will be deducted and the remaining amount which is received by the employee will be chargeable to tax. As we have studied in the previous slide that not the whole amount received by the employee from the employer as LTA is exempted. It is only exempted as up to a certain limit. And we'll see in the next slide what is that limit. And when that is subtracted from the LTA, LTC received, the remaining amount will be chargeable to tax. So it gives us an idea that we cannot say that the full amount of LTA, LTC which we have received as an employee from our employer is exempted from tax. Some part is exempted and some part is taxable. Only the amount which is exempted is deducted and the remaining will be taxable. So let us see how much amount can be exempted and for how much exemption we are eligible as employees for LTA, LTC. Now, let us see the conditions which are needed to be satisfied to claim the exemption of leave travel allowance received by the employee from his employer. In the first slide only we had seen two conditions which is required to be fulfilled in order to claim this allowance. What were they? Number one was we are required to go on a vacation. That is, we cannot just take the money from the employer and keep it. We are very much required to go on a vacation to claim this exemption. And number two, we are required to submit the actual bills to the employer. So these were the two conditions which we have already studied in the first slide. Now let us see some more conditions and the level of exemption which is given for leave travel allowance received. The income tax exemption for leave travel allowance is available under section 10 subsection 5. As we are studying section 10 only, the various subsections of section 10 which gives us the incomes not forming part of the total income. So this is also one income which is not forming part of the total income up to a certain limit. That is, the exemption is given up to a specified limit. From an amount received by an employee from his employer for himself or his family. So LTA is exemption available for an amount received by the employee from his employer for himself or his family. Now we are required to go in details what family includes. That we'll do in the coming slides. So this is very typical. You need to keep each and every point in mind, and each and every line is important in the subject of taxation. because the definitions are less but the exemptions are more. So you need to be very particular. Now, this exemption is only allowed if the amount received is in relation to number 1, leave to any place within India. Number 2, any place in India after retirement or after the termination. So, here in this slide, one more condition is being placed for claiming the LTA exemption. And what is that? We need to go on a vacation to any place in India. So if we are going to a vacation to any place outside India, then we are not eligible to claim this leave travel allowance. So this is a very important, you can say, condition to claim LTA, that the vacation is required to be in India only. And number 2 is that we can travel after retirement or termination also. So the first point is saying that leave to any place within India when we are in services, and the second point is saying that vacation to any place in India when we are not in the services. So it so happens that the employer gives you LTA even after retirement or termination. So that amount will also be exempted if you are traveling to any place in India. Just remember, in India. Now, in this slide, the specified limits are given, that is up to how much the LTA, LTC received from the employer is exempted. So this chart will make the limits very, very clear, that up to what limit you are eligible to claim the leave travel allowance given to you by your employer. First of all, we divide the employee into 3 categories, or you can say the journey into three categories. When an employee is going on a vacation, he'll either travel by air or by rail, or where the journey is neither performed by rail or air and nor are the places connected by rail or air. So these are the 3 categories into which the journey of an employee is divided in order to calculate the limits. First of all, when the journey is performed by air, or when the journey is performed by rail, and third, neither by air or rail. So if I am getting the leave travel allowance from my employee, I'll be going on a vacation either by air or rail or none of the 2. So if that is the case, then we'll divide the journey into these 3 categories. So when the first category is there, that is when I am performing my journey, that is I'm going on a vacation from airlines. So what will be the limit of exemption? The exemption will be the economy class fares of the airline. Whatever will be the economy class fares of that airline, that will be the amount of exemption which can be availed by me. Now, it may so happen that the employer has given me the amount of LTA for traveling in the business class. So I may be traveling in the business class of that airlines, but the exemption which I can claim in my income tax return will only be for the economy class. So just remember this, the specified limit. The limit is the economy class and not the business class, though I may be traveling in the business class of that airlines. That doesn't matter, but the exemption will be the economy class. Now comes the journey by rail. If I am not performing by air and I am performing my journey by a rail, then the exemption allowed will be the air conditioned first class rail fare. Though I may be traveling in a second class AC or third class AC or in sleeper, but the exemption I can claim is air conditioned first class rail fare. So this is the exemption which I can claim in case of my journey through rail. And number 3 is when the journey is neither performed by rail air and nor are the places connected by rail air. It may so happen that I am going to some place which is not connected by rail or air. So In that case, we'll get two categories: when a recognized mode of transport exists and where a recognized mode of transport does not exist. It may so happen that a road transport is available, so that is a recognized mode of transportation. So in that case, the exemption allowed will be first class or deluxe class fare of such mode of transport. And when the recognized mode of transport does not exist, and then in that case, the exemption allowed will be the amount equivalent to the air-conditioned first-class rail fare for the distance of the journey by the shortest route, assuming such journey is being performed by rail. It may so happen that the place which I am going to is not connected with any recognized mode of transport. So in that case, the distance between my place and the place of journey, the shortest distance will be calculated and the fare will be equivalent to the air-conditioned first-class rail fare for that distance. For example, I am traveling from Delhi to Chandigarh, and just assume that there is no recognized mode of transport for Delhi to Chandigarh. So what we'll do is that we'll just measure the distance between Delhi to Chandigarh, the shortest distance, and then we'll just calculate the first class air conditioned fare for such distance. It may so happen that the distance between Delhi to Chandigarh is same as the distance between Delhi to Mathura. So, and from Delhi to Mathura there is a recognized mode of transport. So, since both the distance are same, the fares will also be more or less same. So, that will be the amount which will be exempted in this case. That is the amount equivalent to first class air conditioned rail fare for the distance of the journey by the shortest route. So this is how this whole exemption of leave travel allowance works. Air, rail, or neither by air or rail. If air, then economy class fare is exempted. If rail, then first class air conditioned fare is exempted. If neither by rail or air, then there comes two categories: when a recognized mode exists and when the recognized mode of transport does not exist. When recognized mode of transport exists, then first class fare of such mode of transport, and when recognized mode of transport does not exist, then the shortest distance between the place of journey will be calculated, will be measured, and as per that, the first class rail fare for that distance will be the exemption allowed. Now comes the question of how many times can LTA exemption be claimed? So, it is given that in the Income Tax Act that a taxpayer can claim exemption in respect of any two journeys in a block of 4 years. So, this is one more condition which has been placed for claiming the leave travel exemption. A taxpayer can only claim exemption in respect of two journeys in a block of 4 years, and apart from that he cannot claim any exemption in respect of the leave travel allowance received by him. Just remember, two journeys in a block of 4 years, and for this purpose of block of 4 years, the Income Tax Department has created block of 4 years each, and in each block the exemption can be claimed twice. So this is how the table gives us how the IT department has divided the various blocks, and currently the 8th block is in progress. So if you are an employee and you're working, you're falling under the 8th block currently, that is from 2014 to 2017, and now currently the second year of the 8th block is in progress. 2014 was the first year and 2015 is the second year. So during this period, that is from 2014 to 2017, the employee can claim LTA exemption in respect of two journeys only. Only two journeys performed during this period of 4 years will be exempted. Now let us have a look at some points to remember for these blocks. Number one is that in case a taxpayer has not been able to claim both the exemption, that is, the two exemptions in a block of 4 years, or has claimed only one exemption out of the two in a particular block, then he can carry forward the exemption of one journey to the next year. Just look at the statement very clearly what it is saying. It is saying that I can carry forward the exemption of only one journey if I have not claimed both the journeys or I have claimed one journey only. Whatever be the case, the carry forward can be only of one journey. If you have not availed both the exemption in any block, then you cannot carry forward both the journeys. You can only carry forward one journey, and that too to the next year. Just look at this statement, to the next year, meaning you can just carry forward to the next year of that block and not to the next block. The second point also, it is saying to note, please note that he can carry forward the exemption of one journey only to the next year and not to the next block. Now, for example, if a taxpayer has only claimed a single exemption in the 7th block, that is from year 2010 to 2013, he claimed only one exemption and his one exemption is pending. Now, he can carry forward this exemption to the next year, that is 2014, and he can claim this exemption only in the year 2014. And the original two exemptions for 2014 to 2017 would also be continue to be there. So it is saying that he can only claim the carried forward exemption in the year 2014. If he is not able to claim that exemption in the year 2014, then that exemption will lapse and he will not be allowed to take that exemption to 2015. So this is what we are trying to say. Just we can carry forward to the next year, that is the first year of the next block. Only in that year you can just carry forward your exemption, and if you are not able to claim that exemption in that year, your exemption will lapse. Original exemption would also continue to be there. So the original exemptions will be there, but the carried forward exemption will lapse after the completion of first year. So these are the points which are required to be kept in mind while calculating the LTA or LTC exemption. Now let us have a look at some miscellaneous points which are required to be kept in mind while calculating the exemption of leave travel allowance. Number 1. In case the LTA is encashed without performing the journey, then no LTA exemption would be allowed and the entire amount received by the employer would be taxable. So you are very much required to go on a vacation, as we have studied in the very first line that you cannot claim LTA unless and until you perform a journey. This is what is given in this point also. If you do not do so, the entire amount received by the employee would be taxable. Family for this purpose means the spouse and the two children of the employee. So, as I had said that we'll go into the details what family means in the coming slide. So here it is. Family for this purpose means the spouse, that is the better half of the employee, and the two children of the employee. If you are having 3 children, then the LTA of the third children will not be exempted. Now, it also includes parents, brothers and sisters of the employee who are wholly or mainly dependent upon him. So, if you have dependent parents or brothers or sisters, then their LTA can also be claimed as an exemption. Now, the exemption can be availed for the journey undertaken while on leave during the tenure of service or even after retirement termination from service. This also we have done, that it can be claimed anytime Doesn't matter if you are availing it during your service or after the retirement or termination from service. Now, next is, it is not necessary that the family members should perform the journey along with the employee concerned. It is given here that the LTA is exempted for the employee, the spouse, and the two children if they travel with the employee on the vacation. But it is not necessary that they are required to go on a vacation along with the employee to claim the LTA exemption. It may so happen that the employee alone is going on a vacation. So in that case, the LTA, the expenses incurred on that vacation of the employee alone can be claimed as exemption. So there is no necessity that the family members should travel along with the employee on that vacation. LTA exemption is only available in respect of fare. So this is a very important point to remember, because this is how we'll calculate the LTA exemption. If we don't know what is included in the LTA exemption, then how we'll calculate? So here it is given. The LTA exemption limits itself to only the fare. Apart from the fare, for example, the boarding, lodging, or for any other purpose, if the employer is giving some money to the employee, so that will not qualify for the deduction. So only the fare, and we know the chart, the fare if traveling by air, the fare if traveling by rail, and the fare if traveling by any other mode apart from rail or air. So you have to keep this in mind. Now the leave travel allowance amount computed above is allowed as an exemption for income tax purpose. Your employer may pay you a different amount depending on your position in the organization. So this we know already, that employer can give you any amount based on the position, your work, or whatever be the policies of the organization. But the exemption will be as per the conditions and specifications given in the Income Tax Act. So this is all about the leave travel allowance and leave travel concession. It's very easy. You just have to remember a few points and you can easily know the amount of LTA exempted and the amount of LTA taxable. Just a few points you need to keep in mind. Thank you, students. Hope you have understood this topic of leave travel allowance or leave travel concession, and you'll be able to solve your questions in your examination if they come on this topic. In the next class, we'll be doing few more incomes, exempt incomes not forming part of total income, and then we'll be done with this exempt incomes chapter, and then we'll start a new chapter. Thank you.